Good evening and welcome to the very first episode of Leadership Nveiled. Nveiled because we are Division N, so that starts with an N. And it is my delight. It is a personal pleasure because we are kickstarting season 2 of Leadership Unveiled with a very dear friend. And I call that in especially that order. A friend first, and of course, a leader par excellence at Toastmasters, District 98. She is currently serving as a strategy consultant at Deloitte, Hyderabad, loves to travel. When she gets spare time, she even sings a little bit, plays a musical instrument, and we've had a session, a jam session earlier in the past as well. Coming to Toastmasters, distinguished Toastmaster Smita Mishra is currently serving as the District 98 Public Relations Manager. In the past, she has also served as the District Training Manager, as a Division Director. When I joined, in fact, she was a Division Director at that time. So there's a lot that I have to discuss with Smita. And I welcome you wholeheartedly, Smita. A joy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Mayuri. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you and, of course, to have this connect with Division N, my Nagpur and Chhattisgarh family, which I've always considered Nagpur as a second home. So it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And this is the same thing that the sentiment echoes down. Even last year in season 1, I remember when we had sessions with Chandra and Ravi. So Nagpur, Raipur, Chhattisgarh has a special place. We've always been a part of Hyderabad. We've never been away. And this feeling of family and belongingness has always been there. So yes, thank you so much, Smita, for that. Let's start a little bit about your leadership journey. So tell me one thing. Right from your childhood, as early as maybe at school, maybe at college, did you know that you would come into leadership? Did you have some trait in you? Did your parents let you know that you were born to be a leader?
That's such a fun question to ask, Mayuri. I think I've always had that bone of leadership within me. I used to take a lot of, so when I was in school, if you became the class monitor, you would get this badge.
Yes.
Had the words written class monitor. And I used to take a lot of pride to have that badge as an identity, right? That I have that position and I have that opportunity to kind of, work for the betterment of my class. So ever since I was a kid, I've always aspired for roles like that. I had the opportunity to be house captains and school vice captain. When I came to my graduation in engineering, I was one of the leading people who took care of fests in the college and was also a troublemaker at times, but usually was the good person because I was able to run around and do a lot of initiatives in college. In my MBA, I was the vice president of the student council. So I think somewhere that feeling of, wanting to be in that position or just somehow coming into that position and that role was always present. So I think I felt the most comfortable when it transitioned to Toastmasters because honestly speaking, I never joined Toastmasters for my communication side of things. I thought I was decently all right, having participated in a lot of competitions, contests all through my childhood. My father is an English instructor. So he instilled in me the love of poetry, the love of Shakespeare, plays and prose and all from a very young age. So we used to have conversations and we used to enact things out at home. So communication was never really, that challenging aspect. But I was very excited that this could be a platform where I could learn more about leadership, grow more as a leader, and honestly just work with some amazing people, some amazing leaders in that pursuit.
So in short, you've always been a leader, right from childhood.
Something like that, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that we need a lot of networking skills. When you mentioned about organizing college fests or even at school level, college level, you need to really, really have certain skills, not just the communication part. which you're already blessed with coming from a family where that is. But then certain other skills that we do require at leadership, would you say that you had to work on them, or were there instances where people did not see your point of view and it was a little, there was resistance? Could you share some insight on that too?
So when I was doing my level 2 project 1, understanding your leadership style, I had this opportunity to sit back and introspect about my entire leadership journey, right from school time till date. I did not realize that there were certain words which described my leadership style at different points of time in life. I realized I used to be a very authoritative leader at some point.
Same here.
And my thought process was my way or the highway. I had a vision. I had to ensure that that got executed. So through that project, I think I realized that I probably was not a very successful leader when I was younger. I was more of a do or die situation kind of a person. And I also talk about this sometimes when I started my leadership journey in club leadership. I was very anxious to quickly get involved in the club leadership because that was the first level. I was just 3 months old into Toastmasters, and I decided I want to stand for the role of president of the club. Nobody knew me, and understandably, that trust had not built, and they saw me as an outsider to the club. So not surprisingly, I did not get elected. I actually started that term as a sergeant at arms because the president then who was elected, I still remember Toastmaster Tane, and this was back when I was in Infosys. So he said that we would really like for you to be part of this team because you bring a lot of ideas to the team. And I had that very rampant enthusiasm at that point of time. I mean, it was maddening enthusiasm. I was willing to travel hundreds of kilometers for Toastmasters. That was the kind of energy that I had back then. So I did join as a sergeant at arms and then, slowly built my way up. And in the very next term, I stood again for president, and this time I got elected. So I personally felt it was a moment of pride. I was like, I'm the president of a club. I've got things that I want to get done. That 6 months of presidentship, I think, was the best that the club witnessed. We put our club on the map. And considering this club is 80 kilometers outside of Hyderabad proper, that was a huge challenge in itself. People were taking notice of Hyderabad, of Infosys says Toastmasters, and they were talking about it. And I think personally, it was like, oh, I did my job well, When I introspect back to that level, I realized that was my biggest failure as a leader.
Why do you say so?
So despite the fact that the club did really well, what I realized was I was still an authoritative leader at that point of time. I had a vision of what the club should be, but I did not really get involved with my ExCom as actively as I should have. It was not a conversation. It was more of a directive. Like I would tell the VPPR that, this is what we need to do, or this is what you need to do. The V concept was not really there. It was like, you need to do this, so that we increase visibility. Or for the VP education, you need to do this. So it was my vision and everybody else was executing it. When I had the opportunity to work in other roles, right, whether it was the area director for 6 months or whether it was division director, I understood that leadership goes beyond my vision. It has to be our vision. And that is where my leadership style really started taking a turn. I became more of a democratic leader of sorts, where it was important to hear out everybody. It was important to take the middle ground. It was important to understand the win-win scenario in any kind of a situation. And I would always be grateful to the people I work with who helped me understand that. So I think leadership is an ever-evolving journey. We never really stick to the same style of leadership, because if you do, then you're not really learning anything in that process. And overall, I think now when I've come to a point now I'm more of in a delegation role. I'm empowered because of my team. I feel the things that we do or we bring to the surface, it's not because of my vision, it's because of our vision. And that helps all of us partake in the good things that kind of come our way. If there's praise coming, it's because of everyone. It's not because of me. And I have made so much of peace with that now, now that the attention and the appreciation is scattered equally with everyone. I think that has been the biggest evolution for me as a leader. And I am extremely happy that that change came. Because when I look back to the club president of 2016, and when I'm looking at myself now in 2021, going into 2022, that is the difference that I see. And that was only possible because of Toastmasters.
So Smita, if you remember when you were the division director and I had just barely stepped and joined Toastmasters, gosh, there was so much learning from you as well. Shubhangi was also there, of course. There's one phrase that you had mentioned and it has stuck with me forever. And that is, Mayuri, you have to learn to respond and not react. Trust me, I have been, this is like my mantra currently, and now it has sort of got into me. Over the passage of time now, I'm not as impulsive and reactive as I used to be. It takes just a little while for me to rephrase my sentence, maybe in a more gentler manner, and then it is more of a response than a reaction. But thanks to you for that one tip. And likewise, there have been so many others as well, the mentors, official or unofficial mentors, who have been there to guide me and mold me. So there comes my next question, Smita.
Mm-hmm.
You also, once you joined Toastmasters as a leader, were you also assigned officially some mentor or who have played pivotal roles to help you become the leader that you are today?
So when I started my journey, like any other club or any other new member, I was assigned a mentor from my home club. That was Toastmaster Tanay at that point of time. He was the president of our club. And within a few months, I requested for a change of mentor because, we had scheduling issues and it was my communication journey was not moving much. So I requested for a change of mentor. Then I had Toastmaster Namrata, who was again from the same club. And yeah, I think it continued from there. But what I was more keen was, I wanted to have a variety of mentors.
Yes.
Because, of course, you learn from every single person you come across in Toastmasters. You just have to have that openness,
yes,
accept and to learn. I don't think tenure has got anything to do with wisdom. I don't think age has anything to do with wisdom in Toastmasters. I think I learned humor from literally a 19-year-old college student, because I'm not a very body language kind of a person when it comes to humor. So I literally used to observe, and he's a college student. He was a fellow participant with me in the division humorist contest. So learning can come from anywhere, right? So that is the reason why I was very focused that I need to learn as much as I can from a wide
as many people as I can. True.
The other thing was I really needed to get very specific guidance from the best of the people. So for example, I remember approaching Pratima Madhureddy because I wanted to work on my evaluation skills, and she was the evaluation champion at that point of time. For leadership, I went straight for Dr. Chandrasekhar DP, who was then the district director. The program quality director the year I joined, and then he became the district director. So I approached him and I said, I admire you as a leader. I want to learn from you, want to work with you. And dare I say, want to be you someday. And then, of course, as it happens in Toastmasters, people move in and out. My most recent mentor is Toastmaster Saurabh from Golden Falcon Toastmasters. I think every mentor taught me something which was very relevant when what was needed at that point of time. But anybody who's stepping into leadership also, or for that matter, communication in Toastmasters, I always recommend reach out.
Yes.
Observe identify who you connect with, and then reach out. Because people here are very open and very available to sharing their wisdom and sharing their experience and knowledge without any expectation in return. That is one thing which I learned very early on in my Toastmasters journey. And honestly, I feel I've been blessed to have
such an amazing mentor.
Some amazing mentors.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so it is upon us to be open to receive guidance from all, whether it is an officially assigned mentor or not, someone from another club, someone half your age, maybe. It could be anybody.
Or twice your age.
Or twice your age. So it could be anybody, but then yes, as a leader, we need to be open to keep on learning, because that never stops, right? So Smita, I have one more question, and that too with the prevalent times of it being all online. How challenging has leadership been? Typically for the last almost 2 years now, we've been virtual. So that did bring in new dimensions, I'm sure, to leadership as well. How did that change from the time that you were actively in as a division director, when you used to go out for the different conferences, etc., and now all is virtual? How different has it been?
I think it has been very different, and that difference in scenario is obviously very clear and very visible to every member also. So I know you remember the time when I was the division director, my geographies at that point of time was Hyderabad, Nagpur, and Chhattisgarh. And I still remember back then, I was the only woman division director. In fact, I was the only woman leader among division directors and the top 7 at that point of time, which was a little intimidating. I wouldn't deny. I was very young in Toastmasters and was very grateful for the opportunity, honestly. But one thing which always came as a question to me was, Smita, are you going to be able to travel? It's like, so far off and this and that. Honestly, I clocked more miles in that term than any other division director did. And it was all for a good reason, right? That point of time, the CGD, late DTM, Leo follows. I learned a hell lot of wonderful inputs and insights from
all
right?
of us.
And he taught me the importance of human connection, how important that is when it comes to leadership. And of course, by extension, when it comes to Toastmasters leadership as well. The importance of human connection can never be denied. When things were more in person, when it was, reaching out, I believe it was easier to build those human connections.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to influence conversations, because it's a different feeling when you're sitting across the table, sipping on chai and just chatting about things, and slowly discussion moves towards something else. Or you decide, you know what, let's pick up the car and just drive to the closest club wherever the meeting is happening, and we'll see what's going on there. And every meeting would eventually lead to fellowship at the end of the meeting, right? The meeting is never 1.5 hours. It will always extend to 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And you wouldn't mind it. You would say, yeah, okay, let's sit and talk. Like we're just talking, chatting up about all things. And I think that really bonded people together. That really established relationships beyond just club members, right? We became friends, close friends. Some became family or, next to family. So that feeling, I think, was very prevalent when things were more in person. With the change in the online mode, of course, the first thing has to be adaptability. All of us had to understand what was happening, grasp the extent of change that was coming our way, learn how to manage that change, adapt to everything that was kind of shifting, and then ensure that we are doing a great job at it as well. So I think that adaptability aspect definitely was a learning parameter, not just for me, but for everybody. The other thing was, of course, with online, it was possible to travel to wider cities and to more people. So there was an opportunity. I wouldn't say there was no opportunity at all, but definitely an opportunity to meet a wider scope of people who I don't think I would have ever gone to Gujarat for a Toastmasters meeting. but now I have plenty of times, or, for that matter, Chhattisgarh or Goa. So I think that opportunity definitely came up. And with that, it also helped us understand that, there is a bigger world outside. So I think that focus that used to be very limited to our city and our circles, that immensely broadened. So I think that scope of understanding there is a bigger family and getting to meet more people and networking, I think that was definitely a pro. The con aspect, I think, is, and this is a completely my personal perspective, I just feel I've become a bit lazy now because of the online thing. Because I remember there were times where my weekends, I would wake up at like 7 in the morning and my whole day was blocked. Like 9 to 10, 9 to 11 is one Toastmasters club, grab a quick bite of lunch, then 1 to 3 is another meeting, and and I would come back like late at night. And I used to have that fervor and that energy to do it. Now it's like, yeah, okay, one click, I'm in the meeting.
And another click, I'm out here.
So honestly speaking, personally, I am struggling a little bit to figure like when things move to hybrid and then finally to in person. I'm going to find it a little bit of a struggle to go back to that space, I think.
I'm actually looking forward to it now.
I'm looking forward, definitely looking forward to it, because like I said, that fellowship aspect.
Yes.
I miss that.
That human connect you mentioned. Yeah.
Yes. So I think for leadership, again, the personal connections, the networking, the interpersonal skills that you build, and the influencing capability, I think all of that is definitely prevalent more if it is in person, and you get more opportunity to explore that.
So Smita, coming to next one, you've donned multiple hats: division director and district training manager, and now currently the district public relations manager. Which has been your favorite?
Oh, that's
a bad question.
That's a difficult one. Honestly, I think I would say PR manager is probably my favorite so far.
Although it's been online, huh? You're not meeting.
It has been online. I think that has been a definite learning curve for me.
Yes.
Because most of the PR stuff that I had done in the past, I think that was more in person and more physical forms of PR. So this has definitely been a learning curve for me, I would say. But I think, each of the roles was important to the mental state that I was in that time. When I was the division director, I think I had a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm that I wanted to, say, expand the movement, or I wanted to travel for Toastmasters work, wanted to reach out to as many people as possible at that point in time. So I think given that role and that passion that I had to kind of make a positive change, that role was best tailored and suited for me at that point of time. When I took up training manager, honestly speaking, I was professionally motivated to take up manager because that has always been an area of passion for me. And professionally, I was trying to see if I can fine tune my skills a little bit so that I can leverage that better when I'm, if I'm taking up something similar in Deloitte. So that year of learning was tremendous because of that. Now with PR, I think PR has always been my first love. This is something I always say. So it is familiar in some way, not very familiar in some way as well. And like I said, definitely a learning curve here as well. And the best thing is, I started my journey as an associate club VP PR. I had an opportunity to become division PR and so on and so forth. I'm just so amazed at, it just feels like in these last 6 years, there has been a completely new generation of PR related things. The TikTok generation has emerged and the Insta Reels and stories has emerged. Social media has just taken everything by storm now. I feel that what I used to do 6 years back probably is not as relevant now. So I have surrounded myself with, those youngsters, and wow, I'm calling those people youngsters, like I'm so old. But yeah, I've just surrounded myself with people who are now educating me in quite a bit of a sense, So I honestly have donned this hat of the PR manager more to learn and enjoy this learning curve rather than to figure out, what I knew back then, what can be implemented now. And again, like I said, every single role that you take, there is just so much of positive encouragement, as Toastmasters thrive on that as well. And there is no dearth of ideas that comes from left, right, center, and everybody wants to help you to do your role better and for you to become a better leader in the process as well. So I think that has been definitely one of the best things in these last 6 months.
So this year when I was asked to nominate I was asked whether I would be okay to do PR. I was like, no, PR is just not my cup of tea. But then 6 months down the line, Smita, just like you all said, I have learned so much and I started enjoying it as well. Like you said, there's so much more this now with social media and reels and stories, and the creativity has really the tools to unleash your your creativity is immense. So I'm really enjoying that. Of course, learning from all quarters. So it's been really fun. So one last kind of question, Smita. We have observed that there are a lot of Toastmasters who do want to come into leadership and they do enjoy the roles as well. But of late, there's a little hesitation or a little resistance. They're not coming forward, maybe because of time constraints or they don't understand the virtual platform. We still need good leaders to come forward. And who better than you, to echo the same sentiment. So would there be something that you would like to share to our budding leaders to come forward for different leadership positions?
That's a very important question, Mayuri. And I think, at this, every year at this specific time where we are looking out for leaders, I think this question becomes very relevant to the general discussions, right? So I would just maybe say 3 things, okay? The first thing is leadership is not about titles. Okay, I think that is something all of us agree to. It is, and if you go back and read the, I can talk a little bit about that as well. If you go back and read the District 98 newsletter edition that has come out for the month of November, the theme is around servant leadership, right? So people, even who have expressed their perspectives, have talked about the same thing, that don't tie your leadership learning to a specific title. The title will go away in a year, right? But what is important is that learning and that experience that you get, it will stay with you all your life. So for example, if you take up the role of a division director, where your main job is to expand the reach of Toastmasters in your geographical area, to ensure that the good word of Toastmasters is reaching more and more people. That is your focus area that year. And of course, to ensure the health of your underlying clubs, which the area directors are going to be working on. If you're able to do that well, if you're able to influence other people to expand this movement of Toastmasters, you can literally influence people to do anything all your life. Those learnings will stay with you. So the first thing is, I always recommend people identify what is it that you want to learn in terms of leadership. Hone down on like top 3 things that you want to get out of a role or get out of leadership learning. I want to learn better conflict management. I want to learn better project management. I want to learn better time management. I want to learn the art of delegation. I want to learn the art of influencing people. I want to learn the art of, public relations, promotions, or want to understand how to handle finances at such a big level. Figure those things out first, and then see what particular role can teach you those things, because it's all a learning by doing platform, right? So that is point number 1. The second thing is, in a lot of organizations, we talk about disparity between men and women being part of leadership, right? A lot of organizations sees more men, taking up roles, and there is, of course, that disparity is there. Toastmasters is the only place where I have felt there has never been any bias, any judgment, any glass ceiling at all. So specifically, irrespective of what your gender is, whether you're a man or a woman, if you feel that it's going to take a while for you to take up leadership in your professional space, I would strongly recommend start here now. get your hands dirty and get that experience and build yourself as a leader in Toastmasters first, so that you are prepared to pitch yourself as a leader in your professional space. For example, when I became the division director, that was a chaotic year for me because that was the first year that I had stepped into Deloitte as a consultant. I had to balance my new job. I had to balance this role and do a good job at both of them. So for me, the learning was multitasking and ensuring that both of the things that I'm putting my hands into, I do 100% justice to. And both of them gave me good results at the end. You know, I got promoted at my work within 2 years, and I was successful at having as President's Distinguished. So that was my ultimate goal. That is what I wanted to learn. So I was able to challenge myself in that space. And because of what I learned as the division director and subsequently as the MOC event convener the next year, I could really pitch myself for my promotion at work as well, that, you know, I can take care of, I can manage people, I can manage events, I can manage important strategic things, I can deliberate in strategy, I can give you insights and inputs. And that I feel very strongly catapulted me in my professional space as well. So think of your leadership experience in Toastmasters as a stepping stone to leadership exposure in your professional space. And the third thing, and the most important thing, is leadership roles in Toastmasters brings you in close connect with other very, very good leaders to learn from. Things which, again, you may or may not get an opportunity if you decide to sit on the sidelines. I was so fascinated that my first leadership mentor, I apologize, I think. Okay, let's just hold on for a second. Let the light come back and I can continue from that point. And maybe so the third and the most important thing is, the leaders that you get to work with
and learn from
such close quarters. I was very lucky, and I consider myself very fortunate that I had the likes of Pratima Madhireddy, a Darshan, a Jagruts at that point of time, who were my division directors, who I had an opportunity to work very closely with. Pratima was my area director. And I know a lot of you probably will not understand who these people are, but just to give a very simple perspective, they were the leaders who inspired me to take up leadership in a way. And they were division directors when I became a member. So they were the people who I really looked up to. I kind of grew up in Toastmasters working with, and they really shaped me into the person I am today. So Pratima was my area director. With her, I was working closely. When I became the division PR manager, I was working closely with Darshan, who was an absolute PR genius. When I took up the role of the associate area director, I got an opportunity to work with Jagrut, and I learned conflict management. I learned the skill of follow-ups, the skill of delegation, all of that from Jagrut. After that, I got a chance to work with Chandra as my mentor, who was the then district director, and it helped me really broaden my understanding about what strategy is. How do you, thrive on values, whether it is the values of a person or values of an organization. I got a chance to work with Venkata sir, as he was the MOC chairperson and I was the convener that time. And from him, I learned just the pure joy of connecting with people, with youngsters. And honestly, all my energy was put to shame when I used to watch him getting up early in the morning and traveling with us when we used to reach out to different colleges. I worked with Ravi Teja Marapu, Leo Polos. So these people, these are like, those gems which transform you as a person. And they really help you understand the kind of leader you want to become. And I don't think I would have ever had the opportunity or the pleasure to work with or learn from these people if I did not take up roles of leadership in Toastmasters. So these three things, I think if you look at it from that angle, that whatever you learn in leadership roles stays with you for a lifetime. You have to think of, what is it that professionally will also become a stepping stone for you? whatever you learn in leadership in Toastmasters can prepare you for your future in your professional journey. And the third thing is learning from and growing with the amazing
exceptional leaders that we come across at Toastmasters.
Absolutely.
I think I will, in fact, after our recording is done, I'm going to take the bites out of your the whole interview and share them as bites or snippets, because these small tips that we continue and we should share with our upcoming leaders really do help a lot. They help a lot. Yeah. Wow, Smita, there has been a lot that we've already talked about, and I know there's always a lot that we want to talk about, except that our viewers will also need to take a little break. So yes, I would like to express gratitude on behalf of Division N, District 98. Thank you so much for your time, Smita, and for all those lovely sharing, of your journey, because we learn not just by doing, but also by observing, by listening, from people like you and the others, of course. So it's been a pleasure, a delight, a joy. Thank you so much for the time that you've given to us today. Thank you so much.
Likewise, Mayuri. And like I said, it's always my personal joy and pleasure to speak to you, and of course, through you to the members of Division N and wider to the District 98 as well. Thank you once again for inviting me.
Thanks.
Wish you all the best with Leadership Unveiled. I cannot wait to see who
yes,
the
next will. Yes. They're yours. We've kick-started with your session, with your interview, and then we'll take it forward with others as well. So we try to cover leadership from district leaders as well, and from our club officers as well, because even our club officers have leadership roles to talk about. So we try to cover all that we can. So that's how it goes at Leadership Unveiled. Thank you so much, Smita, once again, and wish you the very best for the term ahead and for your future endeavors as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayuri.